For a long time, the case of Nnamdi Kanu has remained one of the most talked about legal and political issues in Nigeria. Many people inside and outside the country have followed it closely, sharing opinions, hopes, and strong emotions. As the case moved through the courts, public attention did not slow down. Instead, it grew stronger, especially when powerful international voices began to speak about it. During this period, former United States President Donald Trump became one of the most talked about foreign figures linked to the matter. According to widespread reports and reactions, Trump repeatedly expressed the view that Nnamdi Kanu was innocent and should be released. His messages were shared widely online and discussed across different media platforms. Supporters of Kanu saw these messages as a major boost, while others debated whether foreign leaders should comment on Nigeria's internal legal matters. As Trump continued to speak, many observers felt that the pressure on Nigerian institutions was increasing. His words were strong and direct. He did not speak in vague terms. He was reported to have said clearly that Kanu should be freed and allowed to go home. These statements caught attention because of Trump's global influence and his history of speaking boldly on controversial issues. At the same time, the legal process in Nigeria was moving forward. Justice Binta Nyako and later Justice Omotosho were central figures in the case at different stages, and court decisions were closely watched. When Justice Omotosho handed down a life imprisonment sentence, it caused shock and anger among Kanu supporters. Many people felt the punishment was too harsh. Others believed the court was only following the law as it understood it. The sentencing changed the tone of the conversation. What had been a legal debate now became a full political and human rights discussion. Supporters of Kanu increased their calls for intervention. Protests, online campaigns, and public arguments became more intense. It was no longer just about one man. Many people framed it as a larger question of justice, fairness, and the rule of law. Trump's continued statements after the sentencing were seen by supporters as a response to this moment. They believed he was reacting to what they viewed as an injustice. His messages were shared again and again, often with comments urging Nigerian leaders and courts to listen. Some people claimed that these messages helped refocus international attention on the case. Around this time, discussions about the Nigerian Court of Appeal also became louder. Many people began to ask whether the higher court would review the case carefully and consider all arguments again. The idea that the Court of Appeal could step in gave hope to those who believed Kanu's trial had been unfair. Social media was filled with expectations, predictions, and strong opinions about what the court might do next. January 17th became a key date in these conversations. Supporters pointed to it as a turning point, saying it marked the moment when international pressure, legal arguments, and public opinion came together. While official court processes follow strict rules and timelines, public belief in the power of pressure remained strong. Many people felt that the Court of Appeal could not ignore the level of attention the case was receiving. Another important development in this period was the reported support from Burkina Faso's leader, Ibrahim Traoré. According to discussions circulating at the time, Traoré was said to have supported calls for Kanu's release, standing alongside Trump in demanding immediate action. This added an African voice to the international discussion and made the issue feel even bigger. For supporters, it showed that the call for Kanu's freedom was not limited to one country or one continent. All of this created a tense atmosphere. The Nigerian government, the courts, and the public were all under the spotlight. Every statement, silence, or move was analyzed and debated. People waited closely for signs of how authorities would respond to the growing pressure and attention. By the end of this phase, one thing was clear: the case of Nnamdi Kanu had moved far beyond the courtroom. It had become a symbol, a political topic, and a test of how Nigeria responds when legal decisions meet loud domestic and international reactions. This set the stage for what many believed would be a decisive moment. As public discussion grew louder, attention slowly shifted to the Nigerian Court of Appeal. Many people believed this court was the last strong hope for a different outcome. The Court of Appeal is expected to review cases carefully, focusing on whether the law was properly followed and whether justice was truly served. Because of this role, expectations were very high. In the days leading up to January 17th, conversations around the case became more serious. Legal analysts, activists, and ordinary citizens all shared one question: would the Court of Appeal take a fresh look at the matter? Supporters of Nnamdi Kanu believed that the court would consider key issues such as how he was brought back to Nigeria, whether his rights were respected, and whether the life sentence was fair under the law. During this period, the messages reportedly linked to Donald Trump continued to circulate. Supporters claimed that his strong words added to the global attention on the case. Even people who did not agree with Trump's involvement admitted that the level of international focus was unusual. For many Nigerians, it felt like the case had reached a stage where it could no longer be ignored or treated as routine. When January 17th arrived, it was described by supporters as a critical day. According to widespread reactions, the Court of Appeal was said to have accepted arguments calling for Nnamdi Kanu's release. People who followed the case closely said the court looked at earlier rulings and the process that led to the life sentence. The idea that the appeal court was willing to revisit the case brought a wave of excitement and tension at the same time. Supporters believed the court's action showed that legal pressure and public attention can work together. They argued that the appeal court was responding to both the law and the strong concerns raised by many voices. In their view, this moment proved that higher courts can correct what they see as mistakes made by lower courts. The reported support from Ibrahim Traoré was also discussed heavily during this time. Many people felt his voice added weight to the call for release because it came from another African leader. For supporters, this showed unity beyond Nigeria's borders. They believed it sent a message that the issue was not just local but connected to wider questions of justice and human rights. While supporters celebrated, others urged caution. Some legal experts reminded the public that courts are guided by law, not by pressure or foreign opinions. They stressed that any decision by the Court of Appeal would be based on legal arguments presented before it. This view helped calm expectations for some people, even as excitement remained high. The Nigerian government, according to public discussions, reacted carefully to the growing reports. Officials were said to be monitoring the situation closely. There was no rush to make dramatic statements. Instead, the government appeared to focus on respecting the legal process and allowing the courts to speak through their rulings. This silence was interpreted in different ways. Some saw it as confidence in the system, while others saw it as uncertainty. Media coverage during this time was intense. Every development, real or reported, became breaking news. Radio shows, online platforms, and community discussions were filled with debates. People argued about what the Court of Appeal's move meant and what could happen next. Hope and doubt existed side by side. For many supporters of Nnamdi Kanu, this chapter felt like a turning point. They believed the appeal court's involvement showed that the fight was not over. To them, January 17th represented the moment when the case entered a new phase, one where release seemed possible again. By the end of this stage, the country was waiting. Waiting for clear words from the court. Waiting for official reactions from the government. Waiting to hear how Kanu's legal team would respond. The sense of anticipation was strong, and it set the tone for the reactions and statements that would follow. After news spread about the Court of Appeal's reported action on January 17th, reactions followed quickly. The atmosphere around the country and among supporters abroad changed almost immediately. What had been weeks of tension and waiting turned into a moment of strong emotions, mixed feelings, and careful statements from key actors. The Nigerian government was the first major institution people looked to for a response. According to public discussions, officials did not rush to celebrate or condemn the development. Instead, the government maintained a calm and reserved position. It was widely said that authorities emphasized respect for the rule of law and the independence of the judiciary. The message that came through was simple: the courts must be allowed to do their work without interference, whether local or international. Government voices were also reported to have expressed concern about foreign involvement in Nigeria's legal matters. While they did not directly attack any individual, the tone suggested that Nigeria remains a sovereign country with its own legal system. At the same time, officials were said to be aware of the public interest surrounding the case and the need to manage it carefully to avoid unrest. This balanced approach showed the government's effort to stay firm while avoiding further tension. Among supporters of Nnamdi Kanu, the government's careful response was interpreted in different ways. Some believed it meant acceptance of the appeal court's direction. Others felt it was simply a way to buy time. Regardless of interpretation, the lack of harsh language was seen as a positive sign by many observers. Attention then shifted strongly to Nnamdi Kanu's legal team, especially his lead lawyer, Aloy Ejimeka. When he received the news, his reaction became a major focus of discussion. Speaking from his position as Kanu's lawyer, Ejimeka was described as calm but confident. He reportedly welcomed the development as a step toward justice and fairness. From his perspective, the appeal court's involvement confirmed what the defense had argued for a long time. He was said to have maintained that the legal process leading to Kanu's detention and sentencing raised serious issues that deserved proper review. For him, this moment was not about victory but about correcting what he believed were legal wrongs. Ejimeka was also reported to have reminded the public that the case was still within the legal system. He urged supporters to remain peaceful and patient, stressing that true justice comes through lawful processes, not through violence or pressure. This message was important, especially given the strong emotions surrounding the case. Regarding international voices like Donald Trump and Ibrahim Traoré, Ejimeka's reported stance was measured. While acknowledging the attention their statements brought, he focused more on the strength of the legal arguments presented before the court. His position was said to be clear: courts decide cases based on law, not on who speaks the loudest. Still, he did not deny that global attention helped keep the case in the spotlight. Supporters reacted positively to Ejimeka's approach. Many felt reassured by his calm tone and legal focus. To them, his response showed confidence in the justice system and belief that the truth would eventually come out. His words helped reduce fear and speculation, replacing them with cautious hope. Public conversations continued to grow after his reaction. Radio programs, online platforms, and community meetings discussed what might happen next. Some people expected immediate release, while others warned that legal processes take time. This mix of hope and realism defined the mood of this stage. As days passed, one thing became clear: the case had reached a new level. It was no longer just about court dates and rulings. It had become a test of Nigeria's legal strength, its ability to handle pressure, and its commitment to justice. The reactions from the government and Kanu's lawyer showed two different but important sides of the same system. By the end of this chapter, the story stood at a crossroads. Supporters waited for the next legal step. The government remained watchful. The legal team stayed focused. And the wider public continued to debate what justice truly meant in this case. Whatever the final outcome, this moment marked a turning point that would not be forgotten easily. As the discussions slowly settled, many people began to look at the bigger picture. The case of Nnamdi Kanu had moved through many stages, from arrest to trial, from sentencing to appeal, and finally to a moment that caught national and international attention. What stood out most was not only the legal arguments, but how deeply the case touched emotions, beliefs, and ideas about justice. For supporters, this moment represented hope. They believed that persistence, lawful pressure, and global attention helped bring the case back into serious review. To them, the developments showed that no case is ever truly finished until all legal paths are fully explored. The appeal process gave them confidence that higher courts can still listen, reflect, and act when serious concerns are raised. For others, the situation was a reminder of how sensitive legal matters can become when mixed with politics and foreign voices. Some Nigerians felt uncomfortable with outside figures speaking strongly about an internal issue. They argued that Nigeria must protect the independence of its courts and avoid setting a precedent where external pressure appears to influence justice. This view focused on sovereignty and the strength of national institutions. The Nigerian government's careful tone during this period reflected this balance. By choosing calm words and avoiding emotional reactions, officials appeared to signal stability. They showed that, regardless of noise and attention, the country would continue to rely on its legal system. This approach helped prevent panic and reduce the risk of sudden unrest. At the same time, the response from Nnamdi Kanu's legal team gave the story a human and legal focus. Aloy Ejimeka's calm reaction reminded people that courts, not public excitement, decide outcomes. His call for patience and peace helped guide supporters away from rash actions and toward trust in due process. This was important in keeping the situation controlled and lawful. What this moment truly highlighted was the power of attention. When a case becomes widely discussed, every action is watched closely. Courts know their decisions matter. Governments know their words matter. Lawyers know their statements can calm or inflame emotions. In this environment, responsibility becomes even more important. For ordinary Nigerians, the case raised lasting questions. How should justice be delivered in complex political cases? How long should legal processes take? How much influence should public opinion have? These questions did not disappear after January 17th. Instead, they became part of ongoing national conversations. Internationally, the case showed how global voices can shine light on local issues. Whether people agreed or disagreed with such involvement, few could deny its impact on awareness. The challenge moving forward is learning how to manage such attention without weakening legal independence. As time moves on, the final outcome of the case will matter greatly, but so will the lessons learned along the way. Trust in the justice system depends not only on verdicts, but on fairness, transparency, and respect for the law. Moments like this test those values. In the end, this chapter of the story did not provide all the answers. What it did provide was a pause, a moment for reflection, and a chance for the system to show its strength. Whether one supports or opposes Nnamdi Kanu, many can agree on one thing: justice must be clear, lawful, and respected. This closing moment stands as a reminder that legal stories do not end suddenly. They shape opinions, influence history, and leave marks on national memory. Whatever comes next, this period will be remembered as a time when law, pressure, hope, and patience all met at once.